Hey, creative souls, writers, word witches, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very happy that you're here. Do you want to know how understanding this upcoming full moon in Libra can benefit and inform your writing practice? Well, stay tuned and I'll give you my perspective on that. If you don't know me, my name is Johnny. You can learn more about me on my website at johnnymazzacco.com. For this video, I've consulted astrologers Terence Giardino and Maren Altman. You'll find links in the description to both of their channels and to their videos about this full moon. So first off, as they both say, this full moon is all about relationships because it's in Libra. And they both talk about letting go of old attachments or things that don't serve us anymore. And it's a time of having insights and realizations about all kinds of relationships, not just significant others, friendships, work relationships, business partners, everything. So what I will be speaking to in this video is how this full moon relates to your relationship with your writing life, your writing practice, and ultimately with yourself. It could also be with other people in your life who impact your writing in some way. Both Terence and Maren also point out that Venus, the ruler of Libra, and the goddess of love, beauty, and creativity, also on the day of the full moon goes direct after being retrograde, I think, since March 1st, sometime early March. And it's going direct on Saturn, which, as Terence says, is all about karma, karma, karma. It's also about responsibility, discipline, structure, and limitations. Other aspects to keep in mind: the moon is at 23 degrees Libra, which is directly across from the sun, which is at 23 degrees Aries. Also, the sun is conjunct or right next to Chiron, which is considered the wounded healer. So why is this a big deal? Well, first, Terence says this can bring up a lot of insecurities and fears around relationships, but it really wants to break through something and leave old patterns or habits or ways of thinking behind and do something new, start something new. And this doesn't necessarily mean leaving a relationship to start a new one. It's not that on the nose. There's more nuance to it. I mean, it could mean that, but it doesn't have to. And I will get to, I promise, how this relates to writing. He also talks about if you can imagine a straight line from the left to the right with the moon over here and the sun over here. And then if you find the center point of those and go directly up and create a 45-degree angle, you find Mars. So it's forming this T-square. Mars is what? It's aggressive, sometimes angry, and it's very passionate. Maren also talks about these insecurities around this time, and she talks about it in terms of a decision that we might want to make as it relates to a relationship. And with Mars still in Cancer, there's probably going to be a lot of emotion around it, even though you know it's the best decision. And as Terence says, resentments could be released at this time. So it's like this buildup has been happening, and now it's time to release that, let it go, and create something different, something better. Terence also points to the stellium that happens on the same day as the full moon, and Venus going direct. And a stellium is when several planets line up with each other. And one of these is, guess who? Venus, 24 degrees Pisces. Keep in mind that when a planet goes direct, it's at a very high intensity. And as I said earlier, it's going direct on Saturn, which is intensified because it's next to the North Node. And Saturn, if you know, Saturn return, every 29 years we experience it, it's all about tearing down so that you can rebuild. And if it's not enough, this Venus on Saturn next to the North Node is also next to Mercury, which recently went direct just a few days before the full moon. And Mercury, as you probably know, is all about communication, so words and writing, and it's about making decisions. So the short take is that this is all about clearing old relationship karma, big time. And I'll add a couple of more tidbits from Maren's video, and then I'll talk about how this relates to a writing practice. Maren talks about the position of the full moon in Libra at 23 degrees, which is the last decan of the sign. So that means it's the last third portion of the sign. And she talks about how the last decan of Libra is associated with the Four of Swords in tarot. And she says this card is about a backing away from a fight, or it's about a truce of some kind. And this could mean, as we've already said, it could mean moving away from a relationship. It could mean moving away from a particular conversation in a relationship that just goes nowhere, or a situation. It's about choosing to not have a conflict that has been there or that could be there. And she goes on to say that the sun, which is, as I said earlier, directly across from the moon in the sky, is in the third decan of Aries. And this one is associated with the Four of Wands. And she says this one is about celebrating a win that's on a path to bigger wins. So it's again about this theme of ending the way something has been to create something new. And from the sounds of this, to continue on improving. So what does this all mean for your writing life? Well, first, let's look at the obvious. Relationships with other people who impact your writing practice. Is this an editor who you feel doesn't honor your style, and when you get your work back from them, it feels like someone else wrote it? Is this a friend who's also a writer and who is always competing with you in some way or trying to one-up you? Is this your agent who you feel isn't doing enough to get your work to a publisher? Or is it someone in your family, a significant other, or someone else who undermines your efforts to write? And I will say sometimes people do this without understanding or realizing that they are. Is this someone in your life who treats your desire to write like a cute little hobby that you have, or they're always finding ways to interfere? Some people even get jealous of family members' writing practices because they feel it's taking them away from them. Maybe you're the one in the household who is expected to do all the chores. And because of this, you aren't able to devote the kind of time you want to writing. Maybe it's time to end something, or at the very least, have a serious conversation and take a stance to end the way you've been showing up in a certain relationship. Because as Marin says, with the sun in the third decan of Aries, this indicates a celebration on a path to bigger wins. So this could be you putting a stake in the ground, drawing a line in the sand, whatever metaphor you want to use, and saying no more. This is who I am in relation to you, whomever this might be for you, and this is who I am in relation to my writing. Let's think about this now in terms of your relationship with your writing practice, which is, as I always say, your relationship with yourself and your creativity. Is there part of you who really hasn't taken your writing seriously? Maybe not as seriously as you claim to. Is there a part of you who gets in your own way? Do you honor the times that you have put on your calendar to write? Do you let yourself be distracted when you sit down to write? And do you allow negative self-talk in your mind when you think of yourself as a writer? It's time to quiet that part of you, if you've been doing that, to literally let it go and leave it in the past because it doesn't serve you, it's not true, it's not accurate, and it's time to start showing up as the writer that you know you are. So take some time to decide where you want your practice to go. Where do you want it to be by the end of this year? Think about how you want to feel as a writer by the end of this year. And what can you do starting right now to get yourself there? Do you want to maintain a quiet behind-the-scenes persona? Or do you want to be out in the world reading your work, submitting it to publications, or taking matters into your own hands and publishing your own work? Do you need to take a stance on a project that you've been working on and remind yourself who's in charge? I talk a lot about listening to our characters and knowing and trusting that they will lead us where we need to go. But in the end, the responsibility falls on us as the tellers of the stories that our characters live inside. I also use raising kids as an analogy a lot when I talk about writing. And the same is true there. It's healthy to listen to kids, to let them have their say, to let them make their own decisions, and even meet them where they are. There also comes a time when, because you're the adult and they're still the kid, you need to make decisions for them. So if your character has gone quiet, you can bring them back to life because they live inside you. They are part of you. So here's a suggestion. Check in with yourself to see what it is that you're avoiding by letting them go quiet. Chances are they have something powerful for you to hear, and you're afraid to hear it. This could be where severing ties with part of yourself, part of you that hides from the truth, maybe this is what's needed. And keep remembering what Marin says about this celebration on a path to bigger wins. Think of this as a moment for you to let go of an old part of you that isn't serving you or is getting in the way of your productive writing practice. We all go through growth periods and shedding periods. So think about the ways that you've grown, and then think about the ways you might still be behaving as that person that you used to be that doesn't really reflect who you are now on the inside. I think it's important to keep in mind that Mercury went direct, like I said, just days before the full moon. So it could be contributing to a kind of slow, even insecure feeling around making this move that you want or need to make. So give it several more days and things may feel a whole lot different. Use this weekend of the full moon to get really clear about what it is you need to let go of that's not serving you. Get really clear about who you are as a writer, what you want for yourself in that part of your life, and who or what you need to move away from or change dynamics with. Rather than a complete ending to a relationship, like I said before, it could mean an ending within the relationship of doing things a certain way. Whatever this means for you, as Marin says, this could be the beginning of a whole new set of priorities that you set for yourself and your writing life. Think of it as a new set of self-values. If this is the first instance of putting these new values in place for yourself, frame it as a mature, responsible, and adult decision. Something that's the best for you, regardless of how emotionally difficult it might feel. And this could be the case because that full moon is within 4 degrees of squaring Mars in Cancer. So you're likely to feel some conflicted emotion, even though you know something is the right decision. But these feelings will not be enough to make you go back on what you know you need to do. All right, lovely writer, that is it for this video. As always, I send you mad writing mojo. Happy writing.